My beloved, stay here for a moment. You may have arrived with someone already on your mind, a conversation still echoing inside you, a message you have read more than once, or a question you have not known how to answer. Perhaps part of you wants to move closer, to believe what you have been told, to finally stop wondering whether it is safe to open the gate of your heart a little wider. And yet something within you has remained quiet, watchful, unfinished. Do not be ashamed of that hesitation. I am not asking you to become suspicious. I am not asking you to search every word for hidden danger or to assume the worst about someone you care about. I am inviting you into something gentler, a moment of stillness before trust becomes access. There is a reason this matters now, not because you must discover every answer tonight, and not because fear should decide what happens next, but because some choices deserve more than an emotional moment. Some relationships need time to reveal their character. Some promises sound beautiful before life has had the opportunity to test their weight. Some connections feel deeply comforting because they touch a place in you that has been lonely for a long time. That does not make the connection false. It simply means your longing deserves tenderness and wisdom together. Maybe you have been waiting for someone to understand you. Maybe you are tired of carrying certain thoughts alone. Maybe this person listens in a way that makes you feel noticed again. And when your heart has gone a long time without that kind of warmth, even a small kindness can feel like a door opening after a long winter. I understand why you would want to walk through it. I understand why part of you wants to say, this must be different, this must be safe, this must be the person I can finally trust. But, beloved, you do not have to turn hope into certainty before certainty has had time to grow. You do not have to hand someone the deepest rooms of your heart simply because they have stood kindly at the gate. Let trust breathe. Let truth have time. Let consistency speak where promises cannot yet speak for themselves. There is no shame in moving slowly. There is no failure in saying, I need more time. There is no hardness in protecting what is precious while remaining open to what may be good. I am with you in the space between wanting to believe and not yet knowing. I am with you when your phone lights up and you wonder how quickly to answer. I am with you when a conversation becomes more personal than you expected. I am with you when you feel the urge to reveal something simply because you are afraid that holding back might make someone leave. You do not have to purchase closeness by surrendering your boundaries. You do not have to prove your kindness by ignoring the questions inside you. And you do not have to make a permanent decision from a temporary feeling of loneliness. For now, simply notice what is happening within you. Notice the part that hopes. Notice the part that hesitates. Notice the part that wants an answer immediately. Bring all of it into my presence without judging yourself for any of it. There may be more beneath your urgency than you have recognized, and that is where I want to meet you next. Before you ask whether this person deserves your trust, there is another question worth holding gently. What is making your heart feel that it must trust so quickly? And perhaps that question reaches deeper than you expected, because what is exhausting you is not simply the uncertainty of whether someone can be trusted. It is the weight of everything your heart has carried into this moment. You have been trying to read between words, interpret pauses, remember promises, notice changes in tone, and understand what another person truly means, while also managing your own fear of being disappointed again. That kind of emotional vigilance can quietly wear you down. From the outside, you may appear calm. You answer messages, finish your responsibilities, smile when someone asks how you are doing, and continue through ordinary days as though nothing unusual is happening. But inside, there is a conversation that rarely stops. You wonder whether you are being too cautious or not cautious enough. You question whether your hesitation is wisdom or fear. You replay moments that felt sincere, then remember moments that left you confused. You want to believe the good without becoming blind to what troubles you. And somewhere beneath all of those questions is a quieter ache. You are tired of not knowing when it is safe to rest around another person. I know how heavy that can become. I know there may be old disappointments you rarely mention because you do not want yesterday to control today. Perhaps you once trusted words that were not followed by consistency. Perhaps you opened your heart and later wondered why you ignored the discomfort you felt at the beginning. Perhaps someone made you feel that having boundaries meant you were difficult, distant, or unkind. So now you carry two fears at once. You fear trusting too quickly, but you also fear that moving carefully will cause you to lose something beautiful. That tension can leave the heart exhausted. You may find yourself checking your phone more often than you intended, wondering why a response took longer, feeling relief when affection appears and uncertainty when it becomes quiet. You may tell yourself that you should not care this much, yet your emotions do not disappear simply because you command them to. And I am not standing over you with disappointment because you feel deeply. I am not measuring your faith by how quickly you can silence your questions. There are wounds that make uncertainty feel louder. There are seasons of loneliness that make connection feel more urgent. There are memories that can make even sincere kindness difficult to receive without wondering when it might change. None of this means you are incapable of healthy trust. It means your heart has been carrying more than other people can see. Maybe the deepest fatigue is not even about this person. Maybe you are tired of always being the one who has to figure everything out. You are tired of wondering what people mean instead of simply knowing where you stand. You are tired of protecting yourself while still trying to remain tender. You are tired of questioning whether your needs are too much, whether your instincts can be trusted, whether you should speak or stay quiet. There are nights when the room becomes still, but your thoughts do not. There are mornings when you wake with yesterday's questions already waiting for you. There are ordinary moments when one sentence, one silence, or one memory can pull your attention back into the same uncertainty. I understand the hidden pain beneath that exhaustion. I understand that what you are longing for is not merely an answer about another person. You are longing to feel safe enough to stop analyzing every step. You are longing for a kind of closeness that does not require you to abandon yourself in order to keep it, and before anything else changes, I want this hidden struggle to be named without shame, because sometimes the heaviest burden is not what happened to you, but what you quietly began believing about yourself because of it. And this is where the hidden burden begins to reveal something even deeper, because repeated uncertainty can quietly teach your heart conclusions that were never true. When someone becomes distant, you may hear an old voice whisper, "You are not enough." When affection changes, you may wonder what you did wrong. When someone does not choose you in the way you hoped, fear may tell you that you are forgettable. When another person keeps you guessing, self-doubt can persuade you to work harder for the clarity that should never have required you to lose yourself. Slowly, without realizing it, you can begin measuring your worth by another person's attention. A quick response makes you feel secure. Silence makes you question yourself. Their warmth gives you confidence. Their distance makes you search your heart for some hidden failure. And soon the question is no longer simply, "Can I trust them?" It becomes, "What must I do so they will not leave?" My beloved, notice that difference. Fear rarely announces itself loudly. Sometimes it sounds reasonable. It tells you to overlook what troubles you because you do not want to seem difficult. It tells you to reveal more than you are ready to share because perhaps greater vulnerability will make someone stay. It tells you that asking for clarity might ruin the connection, so you remain silent while confusion grows. It tells you that boundaries will make you less lovable. It tells you that if this relationship does not work, perhaps no one else will understand you this way again. These thoughts can feel convincing because they often grow beside real longing. You want companionship. You want honesty. You want to be known without having to perform. There is nothing shameful about those desires, but longing becomes painful when it begins writing conclusions about your identity. Another person's inconsistency does not prove that you are unworthy of consistency. Someone's inability to understand your heart does not make your heart impossible to understand. A delayed answer does not determine your value. A changing relationship does not erase your dignity. Yet when disappointment has visited more than once, the mind can begin collecting evidence for a story that says, "Something must be wrong with me." You remember the people who walked away more easily than the people who remained. You remember rejection more vividly than quiet faithfulness. You remember the moments when you felt overlooked, and eventually you begin expecting every new connection to confirm the same painful conclusion. Then fear creates two opposite impulses inside you. One tells you to hold everyone at a distance so you cannot be disappointed. The other tells you to attach quickly so you will not be alone. Neither one allows your heart to breathe. One builds walls before truth has spoken. The other opens doors before character has been revealed. This is why I want you to recognize the false belief beneath the urgency. You are not forgotten simply because someone has become quiet. You are not inadequate because another person cannot give you what you hope to receive. You do not have to become easier to please, easier to control, quieter about your needs, or less honest about your boundaries in order to deserve healthy love. And you do not need to punish yourself for having believed otherwise. Some false beliefs were formed when you were simply trying to make sense of pain. Some were repeated so often that they began to sound like your own voice. But a thought can be familiar and still be untrue. Fear can be persuasive and still be wrong. Self-doubt can speak confidently and still misunderstand who you are. So before you decide what another person's place in your life should be, allow a deeper question to rise. What if the way you have been interpreting yourself is not the way heaven has been looking at you at all? What if heaven has been looking at you through a completely different lens? Where you have seen hesitation, I have seen discernment beginning to awaken. Where you have called yourself too sensitive, I have seen a heart learning to recognize what brings peace and what quietly disturbs it. Where you have judged yourself for needing time, I have seen growing wisdom, refusing to confuse urgency with truth. You have been looking at the places where you still struggle and assuming they prove weakness, while I have been noticing the strength being formed beneath them. Consider how much has already changed within you. There was a time when attention alone might have convinced you to trust. Now you notice consistency. There was a time when beautiful words could silence your questions. Now something within you asks whether those words are supported by character. There was a time when the possibility of losing someone might have persuaded you to abandon your boundaries. Now, even when loneliness pulls at you, you are beginning to understand that healthy closeness should not require you to disappear. That is not failure. That is unseen growth. You may still feel uncertain, but uncertainty does not erase maturity. You may still desire reassurance, but needing reassurance does not make you weak. You may still be tempted to measure yourself through another person's response, yet now you can recognize that temptation instead of automatically obeying it. That recognition matters more than you realize. My perspective is not limited to the moment that embarrassed you, the relationship that disappointed you, or the decision you wish you had handled differently. I see the patience developing because you learned what rushing can cost. I see the courage growing because you are learning to ask questions you once feared asking. I see the tenderness that survived disappointment without becoming bitterness. I see the part of you that still wants to believe in goodness while becoming wiser about where you place your confidence. You thought your past had only left scars on your judgment, but some of those experiences have also taught you to notice what your younger heart could not recognize. They have shown you the difference between attention and commitment, between intensity and consistency, between being wanted for a moment and being treated with enduring respect. Even your questions can become teachers when they lead you toward wisdom rather than fear. So do not despise the slower version of yourself that is emerging. Do not compare this careful heart to the person you once were and assume you have become less loving. Perhaps you are learning a stronger kind of love, one that can remain soft without becoming careless. Perhaps you are discovering that compassion and boundaries can live in the same heart. Perhaps you are learning that forgiveness does not require immediate access, and kindness does not demand instant trust. There is hidden strength in being able to pause when every emotion wants an immediate answer. There is maturity in allowing another person's patterns to speak over time. There is freedom in realizing that you do not have to convince anyone to treat your heart with care. And there is something else I want you to notice. You have spent so much energy asking whether you are worthy of being chosen that you may have forgotten you are also allowed to discern what you choose. You are not standing helplessly before another person's approval. You can observe, you can pray, you can ask wise questions, you can notice whether words and actions begin to agree. You can remain compassionate without handing over everything sacred within you. This is how I want you to see yourself now, not as someone damaged beyond trust, but as someone learning how to trust with wisdom. Not as someone forgotten, but as someone whose identity does not rise and fall with another person's attention. Not as someone failing because you need time, but as someone becoming steady enough to let truth unfold. without forcing it, and perhaps this is why the answer has not arrived as quickly as you wanted. Because sometimes what feels like delay is the very space where what is real finally becomes visible. And that is why this waiting may be doing more than withholding an answer. A seed beneath the soil does not look impressive. There is no visible branch, no shade, no fruit, nothing that tells the person standing above the ground that life is quietly unfolding below. Yet the hidden season is not empty. Before the seed can carry what will eventually rise into the light, roots must begin reaching into places no one applauds and no one sees. Your heart can experience seasons like that. You may want clarity now because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. You may want to know whether this person is sincere, whether this connection is trustworthy, whether the words you have heard will become consistent actions. You may wonder why the answer cannot simply become obvious. But some truth is not revealed through one conversation. It becomes visible through time. Character has seasons. Consistency needs room to prove itself. Trust is not strengthened merely by what someone promises when emotions are high, but by what remains when ordinary days return. Waiting gives you that room. It allows you to observe without rushing to attach a permanent meaning to a temporary moment. It allows you to notice whether kindness continues when there is nothing to gain, whether respect remains when you establish a boundary, whether honesty survives uncomfortable conversations, whether words still agree with actions after the excitement of something new begins to settle. This is not punishment. It is preparation. Think of winter. A field can appear still for months, yet stillness is not the same as death. The landscape is resting between seasons, and what seems inactive may be preparing for what comes next. In the same way, there are moments when your life does not need another dramatic answer. It needs space. Space to pray without forcing a conclusion. Space to listen without allowing loneliness to interpret everything for you. Space to watch patterns instead of becoming captivated by isolated moments. Space to let your own emotions settle enough for wisdom to speak without competing against urgency. You may be tempted to believe that waiting means you are losing an opportunity, but what is healthy does not need your panic in order to survive. You do not have to pull a seed from the soil every morning to check whether it has grown. Doing so would disturb the very process you are trying to understand. Some things become clear precisely because you stop forcing them to become clear. You let the roots deepen. You let the season move at its proper pace. You let truth reveal its shape through repetition, consistency, patience, and time. And while you are observing another person, something is also happening within you. Your own roots are going deeper. You are learning that you can tolerate uncertainty without abandoning yourself. You are discovering that unanswered questions do not have to become emergencies. You are learning that peace does not require immediate control over the outcome. That growth may feel quiet, but it is real. The waiting season can prepare you not only to recognize trustworthy relationships, but also to participate in them with greater maturity. It can teach you to speak honestly, listen carefully, honor boundaries, and allow trust to develop instead of demanding that it appear fully formed. Every season has work that belongs uniquely to it. Spring does not apologize for not being summer. A seed does not condemn itself because it has not yet become a tree. So do not condemn this moment because it has not yet produced the answer you want. Let this season be what it is. Let time uncover what urgency cannot. Let consistency reveal what charm cannot. Let prayer quiet what fear keeps exaggerating. And as these hidden roots deepen, you may begin to discover that the greatest preparation taking place is not only around you. Something steady, wise, patient, and compassionate is being formed within you, and that inner transformation may become one of the most important answers this waiting ever gives. And this is where the waiting begins to reveal another purpose. You entered this season wanting to know whether another person could be trusted, but somewhere along the way, you began learning how to become trustworthy with your own heart. You are becoming someone who can feel deeply without allowing every feeling to become a command. You are becoming someone who can desire closeness without rushing intimacy, someone who can remain open without ignoring wisdom, someone who can care without surrendering the boundaries that protect what is sacred within you. This is wisdom taking shape. Wisdom does not always arrive as a dramatic realization. Sometimes it appears in the quiet moment when you decide not to send the message written from anxiety. Sometimes it appears when you stop trying to interpret every silence. Sometimes it sounds like a simple prayer before an important conversation. Sometimes it is the courage to say, "I do not know yet," and to remain peaceful enough to let time answer what emotion cannot. Patience is being formed in you too, but not the passive patience that merely waits for something to happen. This is a living patience. It observes, it listens, it notices patterns. It gives truth room to become visible. You are learning that you do not need to decide what someone means to your future based only on how they make you feel today. You can allow character to speak slowly. You can let consistency earn what charm may request immediately. And resilience is growing beside that patience. You once may have believed that uncertainty would undo you, that another disappointment would prove something painful about your worth, or that losing a connection would leave an emptiness you could not carry. Yet here you are, learning that your heart can experience uncertainty without collapsing into it. You can be disappointed and still remain tender. You can hear an answer you did not want and still move forward with dignity. You can release what is not healthy without becoming cynical about what may still be good. That is resilience. It does not make you cold. It makes you steady. And perhaps the most beautiful change is compassion. As you become more discerning, you do not have to become harsh. Wisdom does not require you to turn every imperfect person into an enemy. Someone can be sincere and still not be ready for the kind of relationship you need. Someone can care about you and still lack the maturity to carry your trust well. Someone can disappoint you without becoming a villain in your story. Compassion allows you to acknowledge another person's humanity while still being honest about what their patterns mean for your life. This is the kind of inner strength I want to cultivate in you. A heart that can say no without hatred, wait without panic, ask questions without shame, forgive without pretending, and care without losing itself. You are becoming less controlled by the fear of being left and more anchored in the wisdom to recognize what deserves access to your life. You are becoming slower to confuse intensity with intimacy. You are becoming more attentive to peace, character, consistency, humility, and truth. These changes may not be obvious to anyone watching from the outside. There may be no applause when you choose patience over impulse. No one may notice the moment you close your phone and refuse to chase reassurance. No one may know how difficult it was to keep your boundary when loneliness whispered that you should compromise it. But these quiet decisions are shaping you. They are teaching your heart a new rhythm, and soon the question may no longer be only, "Can I trust this person?" A deeper question will begin to guide you. Can I respond to this moment with wisdom, patience, resilience, and compassion? When that question becomes stronger than your fear, you will be ready for the next invitation, because discernment is not only about recognizing what is true, it is also about having the courage to live according to what truth reveals. Then let this become more than something you understand. Let it become something you practice. You do not need to solve the entire relationship tonight. You do not need to force certainty where time is still revealing truth. You do not need to decide from loneliness, fear, excitement, or the pressure to keep someone close. Instead, bring the uncertainty to me. Bring me the conversation you keep replaying. Bring me the promise you want to believe. Bring me the question you are afraid to ask. Bring me the part of your heart that hopes this person is genuine, and bring me the part that remains unsettled. You do not have to hide either one. Surrender does not mean pretending you no longer care. It means releasing your demand to control the outcome. It means saying, "Jesus, I want what is true more than I want what is convenient. I want what is healthy more than I want immediate reassurance. I want wisdom even when wisdom asks me to wait." And as you surrender, let go of the belief that you must earn another person's honesty. You cannot become kind enough to make someone consistent. You cannot become patient enough to make someone truthful. You cannot sacrifice enough of yourself to create character inside another person. Their choices belong to them. Your responsibility is not to control what they reveal. Your responsibility is to pay attention to what is revealed. So slow down. Pray before you disclose what is deeply personal. Observe how they respond when you disagree. Notice whether they honor your boundaries without making you feel guilty for having them. Listen to how they speak about people who are not in the room. Watch whether their words remain steady when circumstances change. Seek wise counsel from people whose lives reflect humility and discernment. Trust does not have to be given all at once. It can grow in measured steps. And if something becomes clear that disappoints you, you are still invited to forgive without denying what you learned. Forgiveness can release bitterness without restoring immediate access. You can wish someone well and still recognize that closeness is not wise. You can have compassion without returning to confusion. You can surrender resentment while keeping the boundary that allows your heart to remain peaceful. But if time reveals consistency, humility, honesty, and respect, you do not have to let old wounds prevent you from receiving something healthy either. Discernment is not a wall against love. It is a doorway through which love can enter with wisdom. This is where trust becomes different from fear. Fear demands guarantees before it will breathe. Wisdom accepts that human relationships never come with perfect certainty, yet it refuses to ignore what is observable. So place the outcome in my hands while you remain faithful to what you can responsibly do today. You can pray, you can listen, you can ask, you can wait, you can forgive, you can say no, you can say not yet. And when peace and wisdom allow, you can also say yes without needing to know every page of the story in advance. My beloved, you are not being asked to predict the future. You are being invited to walk faithfully through the present. Let tomorrow reveal what belongs to tomorrow. For this moment, loosen your grip on the answer you have been trying to force. Place the person, the possibility, the uncertainty, and even your hopes before me. Then take only the next wise step. You may discover that surrender does not leave your hands empty. It makes room for a quieter kind of hope, one that does not depend on controlling what happens next. And that quieter hope may be the beginning of a new chapter you cannot yet describe. You do not need to know exactly what waits beyond this season in order to believe that your future can hold something healthier than the confusion you have known. Perhaps the person before you will prove trustworthy through time, not through impressive promises, but through steady character, honest conversations, and respect that remains when life becomes ordinary. Perhaps time will reveal that this connection cannot carry the weight your heart hoped it could, and you will discover that releasing it did not end your story. Either possibility can lead you forward when you refuse to build your future on fear. There are doors you cannot see from where you are standing. There are conversations you have not had, friendships you have not formed, lessons you have not yet understood, and opportunities that may arrive in ways you would never have predicted. I am not asking you to imagine a perfect tomorrow. I am inviting you to remember that today's uncertainty is not the boundary of your life. A new chapter does not always begin with a dramatic breakthrough. Sometimes it begins quietly, when you stop chasing an answer that has been exhausting you. Sometimes restoration begins when you realize that another person's response no longer has the power to determine whether you feel valuable. Sometimes an opportunity appears because your hands are no longer gripping something that required constant anxiety to maintain. Sometimes the breakthrough is internal before anything around you changes. You wake one morning and notice that you are no longer checking your phone with the same urgency. You hear a familiar silence, but it no longer becomes a verdict against you. You enter a conversation without rehearsing how to make yourself acceptable. You recognize inconsistency sooner, but you also recognize sincerity without immediately distrusting it. This is what healing can make possible. Not a life without questions, but a heart that no longer loses itself inside every unanswered one. Imagine being able to meet another person without secretly asking them to repair everything someone else damaged. Imagine receiving kindness without immediately turning it into a promise about the future. Imagine allowing trust to grow naturally, one honest moment at a time. Imagine knowing that if someone stays, you can receive their presence with gratitude, and if someone leaves, you can grieve without believing that your worth left with them. That kind of freedom changes the way you walk into what comes next, and there may be more ahead than the relationship you are thinking about now. Your growing discernment can touch your friendships, your family, your work, your decisions, and the way you care for your own heart. The patience you are learning here may help you recognize opportunities that deserve time instead of impulse. The resilience growing within you may help you face disappointment without closing yourself to possibility. The compassion being formed in you may allow you to remain tender without becoming easily manipulated. You do not need a prophecy about exactly what will happen. Hope does not require a detailed map. It only needs enough light for the next faithful step. So let the future remain open. Let it surprise you. Do not reduce tomorrow to the outcome of one relationship, one conversation, or one unanswered question. There are possibilities beyond what you currently know. There can be restoration after disappointment, clarity after confusion, meaningful connection after loneliness, and opportunity after a door does not open the way you hoped. None of these need to be forced into existence today. For now, you can walk forward with your heart open and your hands relaxed. Whatever becomes clear in time, you will not have to face it as the person you once were. You are already becoming wiser, steadier, and more peaceful, and that means the future does not need to arrive perfectly in order for you to meet it differently. So carry this peace with you now, not because every question has been answered, but because you no longer need every answer before you can rest. You came into this moment wondering whether another person could be trusted, perhaps feeling the pressure to decide quickly, to understand every signal, to protect yourself from disappointment, while still hoping for something genuine. But you do not have to carry that pressure anymore. Let your heart become quiet enough to remember what you have learned. Trust does not need to be rushed. Truth does not become weaker because you give it time to reveal itself. What is sincere can withstand honest questions. What is healthy can respect a boundary. What is worthy of deeper trust can grow through consistency rather than demand immediate access to your heart. So you are free to move slowly. You are free to pray before answering. You are free to observe before deciding. You are free to say not yet without feeling guilty. And you are free to remain open without promising more than you are ready to give. My beloved, do not confuse peace with having complete certainty. Sometimes peace is simply knowing that you do not have to control what happens next. You can place this person, this relationship, this possibility, and every unanswered question into my hands. You can release the exhausting work of trying to predict another person's intentions. Let character reveal character. Let time reveal patterns. Let wisdom remain beside your tenderness. And while you wait, do not turn against yourself. Do not call yourself difficult because you need clarity. Do not call yourself weak because you hope. Do not call yourself foolish because part of you still wants to believe in goodness. Your heart does not need to become hard in order to become wise. It can remain compassionate and still have boundaries. It can forgive and still remember what it has learned. It can welcome what is healthy without chasing what remains confusing. This is the steadiness I want you to carry beyond this moment. When your thoughts begin racing again, return to what is simple. You do not need to know everything today. You only need enough wisdom for the next faithful step. When loneliness makes you want to rush, slow down. When fear tells you to close every door, remember that discernment is not isolation. When hope makes you want to overlook what matters, allow patience to protect your clarity. You are learning a new way of trusting, one that does not require you to abandon yourself or live suspicious of everyone around you. May your mind become quieter where it has been restless. May your heart become lighter where uncertainty has exhausted it. May wisdom guide your choices without stealing your tenderness. May patience give truth room to speak. May compassion keep bitterness from taking root. And may you remember that whatever becomes clear in the days ahead, you will not face it alone. I will remain with you in the waiting, in the conversations, in the unanswered moments, and in the clarity when it comes. You do not have to force tomorrow into your hands tonight. Rest here. Let what is true unfold in its proper time. Let what is healthy grow without pressure. Let what is not meant to carry your trust become clear without hatred. And let your heart remain anchored in me rather than in another person's ability to reassure you. You may not know exactly what comes next, but you can walk toward it without fear controlling your steps. Your future does not depend on one person's approval, one conversation, or one decision made in uncertainty. Walk gently, choose wisely, stay tender, and remember this when the questions return. You do not have to rush trust to receive love, and you do not have to abandon peace to keep what truly belongs in your life.